Yo, what's up? Another Phase 2 BiS list. This one is for DK tanks. This is going to be a fun one. I think I actually spent way too much time on this BiS list because I wasted so much time thinking about how to optimize for DPS when in reality it ended up just being a beef meta again. So let's jump right into it. I'm going to close my cam off and we'll go through each individual piece as we always do. First things up, we do want to look at quick talents and glyphs as always. As you can see, nothing really changing here. In phase 1, you likely spec'd into morbidity and ran with something like Glyph of Death and Decay as a staple in your rotation, just because trash had so much, Nax had so much trash, and you're running dungeons all the time. In phase 2, it's likely that you won't need morbidity as there's not as much trash in Ulduar. And it's likely that you want to be running the double buff spec more often than not, as 10-mans become so much infinitely more important, and bringing the double buff is really good. Of course, if you don't need the double buff, you can spend more points in the Unholy Tree, getting things like Anticipation or 3-3 Virulence. There's obviously flexibility with glyphs, as we've been over, but this is pretty much your standard stuff. Going into the gear, as you can see, I am running with the dual wield setup, as I tend to favor. Of course, you don't have to go with the dual wield. The thing about this weapon is it's dropping off of XT hard mode in 25-man. It's actually a really good dual wield unholy weapon as well. So we're kind of into another situation where like running double last laugh is BiS in a vacuum, but the chances of you getting double last laugh phase 1 are just as pretty similar situation as getting double Sir Thalas in phase 2. Maybe a little more likely, as those dual unholies will hopefully be running 10-man to get their caresses. But this is kind of what you're looking for. Again, if you were to run with a two-hand variation of this, something like Dark Edge of Depravity would be pretty decent. We like the agility for dodge. We also absolutely love that 73 hit rating. Obviously, you can run with any of the Furious weapons, as the amount of stamina on them is absolutely absurd if you happen to get the arena rating up for it. I wouldn't go for Vold unless literally no one needed it. It would be very good. And then Hammer of the Crushing Whispers. This is a phenomenal DK tank weapon. Tons of stamina, tons of strength, lots of hit rating. This is coming from Yogg, 10-man hard mode. So lots of options for two hands if you wanted to go with that. But I do prefer the one-hand variation of DK tanking. Now, going into each individual item, it's pretty easy obtained BiS, actually. So our head is going to be coming from emblems, or also dropping off of Thorum. Neck is coming from Freya hard mode in 25-man. Shoulders are going to be coming from XT. You can get these on normal. I really like these because it has 45 hit rating, which is really, really valuable. The tier shoulders are good, and you will get more stamina from running them and more avoidance. But considering the BiS list for DK tanks in phase 2, just like with pretty much every phase, is we're kind of struggling for hit. And this feels like one of the most valuable places that we can get hit without sacrificing a whole lot. So I absolutely love these shoulders for good hit value. So definitely recommend these, although the tier shoulders are perfectly fine as well. Your BiS cloak is going to be Titan skin cloak from Firefighter, 25-man. BiS chests have a couple options here. I prefer the Algalon 10-man chest, although tier chests that you can get from emblems or Hodier 25 is also very, very good and very, very comparable. Just going to be a little bit behind in terms of value. Your best risks are definitely going to be the Memoron's Inferno couplings. These come from Flame Leviathan. You can get these on Flame Leviathan normal, actually. The next best would, again, be Flame Leviathan normal on 10-man. So we really like these two risks. There's not a whole lot of options, as you can see, but they have hit rating on them, so we love them. Already talked about the weapons. The gloves are going to be handguards of revitalization. These come from Freya hard mode. Now, assuming there isn't any eye level changing as we go into TOGC, these gloves are probably going to be your best in slot all throughout Phase 3 as well as Phase 2. So you'll probably be running these gloves all the way until you start progressing ICC, most likely. We'll see if that changes, but that just goes to show how awesome these gloves are, and they drop off Freya hard mode as well, just like the neck piece did. Couple options on belt. I prefer personally going with the Emblems of Conquest belt. This is a little bit of an unpopular opinion, but I personally love the 59 hit rating that you get from these. It's insane value of hit, just like our shoulders were, versus the crafted belt, which is phenomenal in its own right. Has a lot more stamina available to it with really good gem sockets and socket bonus. However, it's insanely expensive and it's got no hit rating. So it just feels like this is a very, very logical place for you to obtain some more hit getting them from Conquest. Legs are definitely going to be coming from Algalon 25, man, if you can obtain these. Your next best before this is going to be the Serenite plated leg guards. So before you get to Algalon, if you can obtain from Kolagarn these legs, they have plus, bonus armor on them. These are very, very good for you. I would highly recommend them as well. Some other good options would, of course, be tier. If you're able to get these, maybe you get lucky and get them from VOA. And then these 10-man hard mode Flame of Leviathan legs are pretty solid as well. But I'm going to be going with the 252 Algalon legs personally in my BiS. Best boots are going to be Greaves of the Iron Army. This is coming from 10-man Firefighter. Another good option would, of course, be these hit boots from Ignis. I didn't feel like they were worth going for personally for hit, as I was able to obtain hit in other places decently well, but you can go for these if you want. And where is it? Here, Spiked Death Dealers. These are the Blacksmith crafted boots. These are very good. However, I just feel like there are other good options that don't break the bank, considering these are going to be insanely expensive at the beginning of the phase. If you can hold off until you obtain one of these other two boots, I would obviously prefer that, and the Firefighter boots are kind of without a doubt your best. Rings, Fate's Clutch is definitely your best ring. This is probably going to be, again, best in slot, just like your gloves would be all the way through Phase 3 and even going into ICC. There's potential that it gets replaced, but it's unlikely. Your next ring is debatable. You can go a couple different options. I prefer going with Seal of Ulduar as my second ring. This is going to be coming from XT hard mode and 10-man, but you can go with the Platinum Band of the Aesir. This is coming from Ariaya 25. Both of these rings are very good. Either one works. You can also go with the Flame of Leviathan 25-man ring. This one's very solid as well. To me, you're just getting more effective HP from Seal of Ulduar, and you don't need any defense coming from any of the other options. So just feels like really good value here. Plus the bonus armor is solid. So great ring here. Obviously, your two best trinkets are going to be the big stamina trinkets coming from 25-man Ignis, and then 10-man hard mode Yogg. And then your best sigil does get replaced. You actually go for Sigil of Deflection this phase. And that's basically it. As you can see, fully raid buffed with Frost Presence and everything, you're going to be sitting at about 52k HP unbuffed. We're over 200 hit rating. We're actually at 213 hit rating, so doing just fine in this full BiS. It's going to be a very, very beefy boy. I have spent so much time trying to optimize and think about what would it be if you went Deep Blood and went for things like Hard Strike and Dancing Rune Weapon and getting Blood Gorged and Might of Mograine and Sudden Doom, and what would a Deep Blood, high damage DK tank look like in Phase 2? And I optimized and optimized and optimized, and then we got into the PTR and we started progressing Algalon and doing some pulls on Algalon, and he hits so hard that I can't even mess around with the parse culture and the high damage build anymore. I don't see it being something that's actually realistic, except for, of course, like the easier bosses and the easier hard modes. Like, if you want to, go for it. There's no harm in that whatsoever. I almost just think you want to have your beefiest build possible, beefiest spec possible, your best glyphs possible, and then your second spec being your DPS spec. And if you wanted to meme around on those other bosses and hard modes, then go for it. I would do that in your DPS spec with your tank gear, as I've always recommended in the past. I was planning on putting out a ridiculously cool and a ridiculously fun video about Deep Blood and doing big damage as a Deep Blood DK tank, but Algalon hits too hard. So maybe we'll have to revisit that subject later, but I recommend that you have your focus on a build like this that I have presented to you today. I hope that you are focusing on your highest survivability as possible, as Old War is hard. These bosses will absolutely clap you. And thankfully you have Willed and Acropolis, but you don't have Ardent Defender. So you need to be doing everything you possibly can to survive some of these encounters, and I think this sets you up the best for success. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I will leave a link to this BiS list in the video description below. If you have any questions whatsoever about DK tank stuff, let me know. I'm happy to try to answer and continue this conversation in the comments of this video. And if you have any other questions about DK stuff, you can obviously join my Discord. There will be a link to my Discord in the description below, and I'm happy to help answer any questions there as well. That's it. Oh, and one last thing before I leave. I did have Storm Jewels in all of my sockets. This is TBD. These could potentially be unique equipped, and you might only be allowed to use one of these. If that's the case, then we obviously only use one in our gear. And if they are not unique equipped, then of course, as much as we can, we will slot as many of these in our gear as humanly possible. We'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, that's it. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.